technology, diversity, wine, the redwoods, and everything in between. Welcome to the Northern California Bay Area, and one show takes you inside the real estate that makes it all happen. This is By the Bay.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to By the Bay. I'm your host, Dan Ancheta. I'm really grateful that you're here and being part of the audience. Happy New Year. Thank you for liking and subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you might be listening or watching this. And like I said, thanks again for being part of the audience. It's really fun to watch the audience grow. And if you have any questions or comments, please reach out, and contact information is always in the show notes. I have a really wonderful realtor here today. As a friend of mine, Haven O'Halloran, is here. She's a realtor with Engel Völkers. I always get that wrong, but I think I did it right.
You did it right.
And we connected because you work with Bianca Bruce, who is a dear friend of me and the show. And you work with Rob Tomasello, who's a frequent flyer on the podcast and a good friend of ours. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you taking the time. And so introduce yourself to the audience. You've been doing real estate for a long time. I'd love to hear your story and tell us who you are.
Great. Hi, I'm Haven O'Halloran. I'm your favorite realtor. That's my
like your tagline. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I came up with that because I just thought, there's so many people to pick from, and how do my clients or potential new clients decide? And I figured, well, you can't always be number one in this industry.
You can be someone's favorite.
You can always be someone's favorite. Yeah. That might also be a result of being from a big family and, having parents that like to tease about that. So we all think they're my parents' favorite. So it worked out for me.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I started my business 10 years ago. And the idea was that I just was a little bit burnt out on what I was doing. I was a sales director with Mary Kay Cosmetics, and I was mentoring and coaching and educating women on how to build a cosmetics business from home, direct sales, great company, great structure, and had 2 babies at home and wanted to be able to be very flexible.
That's amazing. That's like one of those early businesses that really keyed in on like stay at home, work from home moms, and like how do they build their own business and have the entrepreneurial thing while also having the flexibility to, take care of kids and raise kids and have a family. And you did that for a long time.
I did it for a long time. And I developed incredible skill sets from it.
I imagine like the skill sets that you learned, like the sales skills and overcoming objections and building relationships and repeat clients and customer, like all of that is just contained in that really, focused business.
That's right. The main pillars of building a business that I learned through Mary Kay were time management, emotional management, money management, and skill management.
I mean, that sounds like a perfect sales education.
Yep. And so what I found, however, was that I was having the same conversations over and over again, and I was just kind of done having those same conversations. Right. I had a lot of success with the company. I had many women earn cars with the company. I earned cars with the company, which is kind of that's kind of the big place you want to get to in a business like that.
Big car, right?
So I think it was a total of like 27, 28 cars with myself and the group that I was mentoring of the different women that I was working with. And it was really fun. I got to travel all over the place to work with these women because we didn't have territories in Mary Kay. And so when I decided to do a career shift, I went to my husband's cousin in Los Gatos, who was a successful realtor, and I said, I'd like to do an informational interview.
Nice.
And so she tried to scare me out of the business, and I thought, no, I don't know why you're trying to talk me out of this, because I'm pretty sure I have all the skills I need to do this. And then another friend hooked me up with a top realtor in Southern Marin. She did the same thing, and I still wanted to do it. So
that's amazing. Yeah. And what were they saying? Do you remember what they're saying? Like, why not to be in the business?
I think mainly the point they were both trying to make was that it's more of a grind than people realize. That most people think being a realtor is what they see on, Selling Sunset. Like, that's the worst,
right.
And I don't even really watch those shows. Sure. I just have clips in my mind of them. And so, they don't realize that it's unfortunately not as glamorous as we'd like everyone to believe. Though, you can feel very glamorous doing this work.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things about the industry is that there's lots of different ways to play in it. And there are definitely agents who work 5 hours a week and they do a couple transactions a year if it hits them in the head, and that's fine. But those aren't the ones who are making millions of dollars a year selling real estate.
Yeah.
Like the ones, if you're at that level, you're in it all the time. It's not 40 hours a week. It's all the time, all day, every day, all the time. Like you're networking everywhere you go, going out to dinner, going to the grocery store. Like you're always working, never not working. And if you want to be at that level, that's just kind of how you have to be, right?
Right.
So yeah, but this is cool because you can play as a realtor in lots of different ways.
Yeah.
And tell me about they try to scare you away, and you're like, okay, great, but I'm still going to go ahead and do this. Mm-hmm. Did you join a team when you got started, or did you go independent from the beginning?
Independent from the beginning. Yeah. Right. I've been fortunate enough, though, to have some really incredible mentors. Yeah. And I started off with an office in Southern Marin that also had what I found with the office that I decided to go with. And I was fortunate enough because of my previous experience and my previous network that they were wanting me, right? Because the other thing that people don't realize is that sometimes you're not really a desirable candidate to a company. And depending on what's happening in the market, they may or may not be hiring brand new agents.
Sure.
So I wanted to just do my own thing, but also have all of these really sharp agents around me. And so I felt after interviewing about 4 or 5 brokerages that the office I chose was iron sharpening iron.
Yeah.
They were all very professional agents that still had a heart, and they really had a great environment in the office and with each other. And so I've had a lot of success because of those other agents either saying, hey, Vin, I'm too busy. Can you take on this buyer? I had an agent who moved out of the area, and he had a relationship with a relocation company. And so he said, hey, I've got a person who can replace me, and that would be Haven.
Amazing.
What
a gift, right?
It was a gift. Yeah.
Okay. So you have this pre-existing skill set that you honed at Mary Kay.
Yes.
And a bunch of contacts probably because of that too, right? A lot of personal contacts. And was your Mary Kay business focused mostly in the Bay Area, or were you kind of since there's no territory, were you all over the place?
So my personal business of my clientele and my team members were in the Bay Area, but then those team members would get team members out in Fresno, Sacramento, other states that I would travel to. So yes, the bulk of it was in the Bay Area.
So I guess the reason for the question is like, did Mary Kay connections turn into real estate clients as well?
Yes. In fact, I would say it was probably a good 75% of who showed themselves as real estate candidate clients chose me because they would say, finally, an agent I can trust,
right,
because of how I had treated them as a client in Mary Kay.
Yeah, that's incredible. And like that transition, especially for people getting brand new to the industry, I always ask, like, how did you get your first clients? Like, how did you start? If you had a team, did you go on solo? So you went solo and you relied on all these prior connections you had through like your sphere of influence from your personal life, but also from this other business that you had. And then it's like, how do I inform all of them that I'm selling real estate and I can help them?
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
So do you remember thinking back, to the first years? So you're in a great brokerage with a bunch of wonderful agents. You have your skill set. You have your past clients from your other career. How did you start the process of like becoming known in the industry?
Well, you've got to do open houses. I really believe in face-to-face, which is really hard for everyone who's younger than me, which is plenty, to believe, because they're all into texting and all of that stuff. But I think that I'm a huge proponent of connecting with people face-to-face energetically and making sure that they just know, what it is I'm about and what I can do for them. And there may be a fit, there may not be. The 25% that didn't go with me, I was very conscious of them when they would list with someone else or whatnot.
Right.
And you just have to know that it does, it's not necessarily a reflection of the relationship. It could just be a pre-existing relationship, or just the fact that they couldn't transfer the idea that, no, you were my Mary Kay consultant. How can you now be my realtor?
Right.
So I just accepted that. But yeah, I would just say I called people. I can remember an early phone call that I made to someone And I said, hey, I just want to let you know I'm getting into real estate. I've been hired on by this great company and I'm getting started. And if you should need anything, let me know. And she said, I will never sell my house. And within a year, she sold the house with someone in my office. And she made the agent call me to tell me. She said, as a part of my signing with you, you have to call Haven and tell her.
And let her know, break the news to her, because I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Man, I like appreciate that she did that. That's actually really kind to inform you.
The intention was
because there's nothing worse than like going on social and seeing that someone that you know close, like someone that you're like close with, transacted without you, and you're like, what happened? Like I just kind of assumed that I would at least get a phone call, you know. But
anyway, think about the gravity of the fact that conversation was, I will never sell my house. And within a year.
Boom. Right.
And so it helped, the fact that she asked that of the agent, it helped our relationship with that agent.
Sure.
Because then that agent said, gosh, Haven, I got to call you. And so that we could still continue to build our relationship because there didn't have to be the animosity. And I love this line. And if I could, impart on future sellers who don't choose the other agents that they know, it isn't a, oh my gosh, thank you, when they say, but you can bring the buyer.
Yeah. That happens. That does happen. But you can still sell it.
But you can still sell it. Yeah. Well, then you should hire me.
Thank you very much. But I think what you hit on something really important is like, it's a small world, right? And it's a very small real estate community. Especially if you're a top producer, there are a lot of people who can sell real estate. There are very few who sell a lot of real estate in this community. Mm-hmm. And so what comes around goes around, and you need to treat people fairly. Sometimes we have, from the lending side, I'll have an application from someone, I'll pull their credit, and I'll see that they had inquiries from other companies I recognize, and I'll be like, hey, are you talking to other lenders? And if it's someone else in the community, like I'll call them and be like, hey, like I'm moving forward with especially with the clients that decided to move forward with me and we're in relationship now, like I'll call the other lenders and just be like, hey, just want to let you know, like this is what happened. I'm not trying to steal. I'm not trying to take, I didn't know that you were on the other side. We had a conversation. They decided to move forward with me. And I think it just helps with creating community and making sure that like you don't have that bad blood. Does that make sense? Yeah,
because it can be weird too if like you have had initial contact with a couple people and that same agent or that same lender then turns around and has that business. And then you're kind of like, what's going on here? Why is this person like stalking me?
Yeah, well, especially like on our side, because you can actually buy like trigger leads and see when people are having their credit pulled and then like get their information and call them. And I don't want there ever to be, any feeling of like, how come Dan keeps showing up on these, because I'm not buying trigger leads. I don't like trigger leads. I don't believe in them. But sometimes you just wind up running it anyway. So I think the point is that for all those working in real estate, even though we might be competitors, we can still be kind.
Yes,
right. And we can still take care of each other. And you never know what might happen and who might be a coworker or a partner in the future. Like there's lots of different things that happen. And just to be kind to each other.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so your first year, you're calling everyone, you're kind of going through your Rolodex, if people know what that is, and like calling everyone saying, hey, I've made this career change. And they're responsive? They're like, okay, great, awesome. We already know, like, and trust you, and you made a career change, but if we have a need, we're going to call you?
Consistently through my career, that's the conversation I've had with people who knew me prior to real estate.
Okay, so I have a question about that because that's not common. That's not typical.
Okay.
Right. So what do you think you've done differently than other people have so that you have that relationship stickiness? Does that make sense? Like you could probably change careers again. And the people who have used you for Mary Kay and also to transact on real estate would also, buy Google ads from, I don't know, just whatever from you. So what do you think you've done differently that's caused that amount of stickiness in those relationships?
I genuinely have spent time with people. I've spent a lot of time with people.
Right. I think
to the point that sometimes I get anxiety because I'm like, I think I scheduled too many lunches. I think I need to stay home and be with my husband one night, or my children need to spend time with me. So there's a pro and con, probably a little bit to it, but I've also created an environment at my home that so far no one seems to resent me for how I am and who I am.
Right.
But I love people. And I do genuinely enjoy the time I spend with people.
I think I kind of knew that about you, but I think it's about creating genuine, authentic connection.
Yeah.
And people know when you're bullshitting them and trying to sell them something, and when you're actually spending time with them because you care.
Right.
Right. So yeah, I think I knew that, but I wanted to hear you say it because I think it's important.
And I'm multifaceted. I have a lot of interests. I like a lot of things. And so it's not weird for me to be like, yeah, I want to do escape room with you. Then go wine tasting and then go listen to bluegrass. Like those are all things I'm actually enjoying. I'm not just putting it on.
Right.
And maybe part of it too is just knowing that I'm in the environment with somebody of something that they're enjoying. I'm cool with it.
Right.
I don't have to be at the forefront of what we're doing. In
Right.
fact, my 21-year-old son was saying to me, Mom, yeah, it's so weird because it's like, it's my birthday, but the responses I'm getting from friends are, oh, I don't do that. And he's like, it's not really about what I'm asking them to come do. It's about spending time with me. And I think he's learned that from me. So then unfortunately, he's going to have to go through the realization that not most
everyone's
people are
that
not,
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you're hitting on something important. It's like you build a community around things that you like, right? And you spend time doing those things. And if you're just authentically being yourself in those places, you can find a lot of business, right? So
Right.
like we go to the gym here in town, and we've become very close friends with people we go to the gym with because we spend lots of time with them suffering through workouts. And wouldn't you know it, I've done a number of transactions for people who go to the gym. I have a number of them pre-approved for their next home purchase because they know that we care. They know that I'm here and that I genuinely care about them. And like same thing with like other parents from our kids' school, right? There's a lot of our clients come from our kids' classes, parents of the kids in my kids' classes. Having a hard time with words today. And it's like, well, because we spend a lot of time. We have similar interests. We have similar things. And you can create genuine relationships outside of business that then evolve into being a business relationship. So that's a really like important thing. People are like, where do you get leads from? How do you find leads? Like, well, you can buy Zillow leads and that can work. We do that and it's fine. But the vast majority of the business comes from creating genuine connections with people, right? With no motive of like, I'm going to get close to this person because I want to sell them a house, right?
Right.
That's the byproduct of that closeness, right? So when they're thinking of transacting, then you're a trusted person. They're going to call you,
Right.
right? That's really cool, and good for your son to kind of see that and go, wait a second, it's not about the thing; it's about spending time with me on my day. So, what is he? Did he already turn 21?
Yes. He is a day after Christmas baby. So
Oh, amazing! So it just happened.
Yeah, we stayed up all night on Christmas and then took him out to the bar.
Did you after
It's
midnight?
on social media, so people know that this happened.
I did that on my 21st birthday. On my 21st birthday, which is a long time ago now, it was like, watching the clock, and then we like went to the bar. My dad was there. He bought me my first beer, and that was good memories. So good that he'll always remember that.
It was fun.
How fun.
Yeah.
What was his drink? Do you remember what he had?
He picked a beer.
He picked a
I
beer,
don't even know that he knew which Pilsner because I'm pretty sure that he's familiar with, seltzer drinks.
Got it.
At this point.
Yeah,
so
Got it.
let's not say more because I don't really know.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, that's a huge milestone, and that's congratulations. So now you started the business in Marin.
Yes.
And now you're based out of Healdsburg.
Yeah, so I'm based out of Healdsburg. So it's really funny because, I spent all this time in Marin. All of my business has been in Marin and Sonoma County in different pockets. But because we moved out of Marin to Cotati, that's when we decided, where are you going to go with this, Haven? Because it's like you can only do so much. And then really, I always tell people this, and I don't know if they believe me, but ultimately, when you pick a brokerage, you're picking your manager who's going to, in this case at Engel Völkers is extremely unique. It really is executive business coaching that we get from our regional manager.
Right.
I can't say that that's really what you get from most managers, and it's not a knock on them. I'm just saying that that's something that really works for me for my past history. And so it wasn't so much that, I picked Healdsburg to then like try to target Healdsburg. However, it is an incredible place. Like the smart trains being built out. There's so many fun places to go. Every time I mention Healdsburg, people throw out all the different places they like to go. So it would be silly for me to not then also, invest time and energy there, because that is where my anchor office is.
Right.
We also have an office in Mill Valley, so I've spent some time there. And when I've done transactions in Central Marin, it's a great location for me to meet clients. So my hope is that I continue that Sonoma Marin connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I think that's the trend that I see is you're either Sonoma Marin or Marin San Francisco.
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
If you're like living in Marin, you'll also go to the city. If you're in Sonoma or Marin, you might do both.
That's right.
But very rarely do you see someone go, I'm doing Sonoma, Marin, and San Francisco. It's just too much territory. There's too much nuance between the markets. You kind of have to pick two, I think, in a way to be
and
successful.
I was kind of doing Napa as well.
Okay.
Because my husband at the time, his job was anchored in Napa when I first started real estate. So that was really the tipping point for me. It was when I moved into Sonoma County, it was like, I don't know that I can keep trying to have a presence in
Right.
Napa. So that's kind of what I gave up when I decided to go to Engel Völkers,
Right.
was not continuing the Napa connection as
Got
much.
it. And so, but you grew up in Marin.
Grew up in Marin from freshman year of high school.
Okay. So a lot of connections in Marin, spent a lot of time there. And I'm sure you're benefiting from the migration that we're seeing from people in Marin and their kids moving north, right?
Right.
That's like a trend.
Right. I mean, it's a little different for me because I did not move to Marin with my family.
Okay.
So I don't have a big family contingent of parents like you're doing now that all hung out together and, created a community. I was a ballet student and I lived with a host family.
Oh, fascinating. Okay. Okay.
And
I didn't know
so
this. So tell me
this
more about
brought me
that.
from Hawaii.
Okay.
And I'm from a big, large family. I'm always a scholarship student as a ballerina and had really incredible potential in ballet. I don't hesitate to say that. And so what happened was I kind of outgrew my ballet school, auditioned for ballet schools, and then got a full scholarship at Marin Ballet and then a half scholarship at Pacific Northwest Ballet.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so at 13, I moved to Marin, lived with a host family, a couple different host families. So I don't have quite the anchor I think that people would assume when they hear, oh, you grew up in Larkspur or whatever.
Right.
But I do have wonderful, lovely connections there. So most of them have been made in my adult life.
Awesome. Right. Yeah. Oh, it's okay. Oh, I want to pull on that string a little bit. So you grew up in Hawaii
Yes.
and doing ballet there
Yes.
very successfully. And then so you just outgrew the school and then you moved here. How was that? I mean, being 13 and being away from the family and living apart from them, how was that for you?
Well, first and foremost, I think that I just am an independent thinker. And so I would flip through the dance magazine. Some of you need to know what a magazine is. You've probably never seen one in person.
It's like an e-magazine, but
No.
in paper.
Yeah. And Engel Völkers still prints magazines. So there's a huge connection with me and Engel Völkers. So I would flip through the dance magazine. And so I saw a vision for myself. I saw the girls coming back from the mainland, as we call it, improving in their skill. And so I was like, that's what I need to do next. And I honestly this is just what I wanted to do. Not saying I wasn't homesick from time to time, but that never was a factor in how I made decisions.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's like really brave. I can't imagine. Like I hear of people doing exchange programs and going 6 months or something like that, but like to be 13 and then be completely out of the house and relatively independent, right? Because you have a host family, but they're not like doesn't replace your mom and dad, right?
No,
So
doesn't replace your mom and dad. Sometimes I have to coordinate my own rides to the ballet school. Just kind of different situations that I had to juggle and be sure of myself. And I'm very fortunate, again, to somehow have been surrounded by some really great people and not having any kind of incidences that I think a lot of parents are scared about when their kids move away. So I'm fortunate in that way. But I think from an early age, I saw a goal and then you pursue it. And I think I was just that was my automatic pilot, maybe.
And I'm guessing that has also influenced your professional career, like that mindset of like, I have a goal, I'm going to achieve it. It might be hard, it might be uncomfortable, I might have to live far away from my family to make this happen, but this is something I want to do, and I'm going to make it happen.
That's right.
That's
and,
really
and how I've raised my kids too.
That's really awesome. Like that's a incredible story of just like it's just part of who you are.
That's right.
So when did you stop? Do you still dance now?
So I still dance in many different ways. I love to salsa dance.
Okay.
That's my favorite. My husband and I still take classes here and there.
Awesome.
He had knee surgery in October, so we're getting back this year. I've taken flamenco, hip hop, all those things I would take again. It's all a matter of when I have time to, get fit it in. But yeah, so the salsa is still our focus. Okay. My husband and I.
Nice. My wife and I have taken salsa lessons, I don't know, a number of years ago before we had kids.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's a really wonderful.
It is.
And great connection, great time to spending with your spouse.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So you moved to Engel Völkers, and most of that to do with like the type of support and coaching and kind of that you're getting there. Is that coming from Bianca?
It is, but actually the transition into that was much more kind of inspired because Sudha Schlesinger, who's one of their top agents, is the one who met me at a broker event and was like, "Who are you? And you should be at Engel Völkers."
Right on.
And
Sudha's great.
She is so
I haven't
amazing.
had her on the show yet, but I should probably reach out to her.
So you'll have so much fun with her. And so she really was just kind of like, I think this is, and I kid you not, the night before I had said a prayer out loud. What should I do and what direction should I go in my business? And the next day I met Sudha, and Sudha said, "Would you like to have lunch?" And I said, "Sure." And I called her and we had lunch, and she said, "Do you know how many agents I offer lunch to? And you're like the first and like 10. Sometimes it just takes actually following through on that. Hey, we should do something together.
You know what's interesting about that? I mean, that's amazing. I love that story. What's interesting is that I think that there's a lot more opportunity in people's lives than they realize if they just said yes to more like kind of off the cuff comments like that.
Right.
And I think there's probably a lot more like happiness and fulfillment and things that are out there than we realize if like when that person who's like, "Hey, we should grab coffee." Like just go have coffee, because you never know what that might evolve into, a friendship, an opportunity, some other type of connection. But I think we maybe it's because of COVID or other things, but I think we've kind of like all kind of turned into ourselves a bit in the last number of years. And I've done that a lot where I'm like, "Hey, people at the gym, let's get together, let's connect." And just I like who you are, I like you as a person. And few people take up the opportunity to actually do that. And I think that if more people did that, there's a lot more interesting doors that would open in your life.
Right.
Right. And one of them for you being an opportunity to go to take on a new brokerage.
Right.
That's incredible. Okay. So how's business? How long have you been with Engel Völkers now?
Since May.
Since May. So this is like new, because we're in January. So not even a year yet.
Right.
And it's going great.
Going great.
Okay.
Clients received, most of them were like, "So who were you with before?" Because they're not hiring me because I'm with this company or that company. And yes, we as agents know why we're with certain companies.
Right.
We oftentimes don't even get an opportunity to convey that to the person who's sitting in front of us. But ultimately, as you said, kind of that stickiness, it was kind of like, well, it's not like my switching brokerages was going to determine whether or not they were going to stay with me as a client. Right. It was more just kind of like articulating to them why I made the move, what I was looking forward to, and am I happy?
Right.
And so now here it is,
Do you have the support that you need?
Yeah.
And does that enable you to spend more time with your clients?
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, I will say, in defense of Engel Völkers and what they offer is that in the inception of the company in the 70s, which was a good decade, I have to say, that's all I'll say.
I will take your word for it.
A lot of great people born in the 70s. But they, from the inception, really understood that marketing was just as important as the actual conveyance of real estate. And so I think that's a practice and that it's a very personal and specific to the agent and what that agent is putting out there. And they're extremely detailed about how they have created their image, what they hope for their agents to present, and how it's presented. And I think you have to be very intentional about it. And they have been for a very long, before it was popular to create a culture, they were doing that.
I think you're hitting on like, there's lots of business models, right? So some business models have a ton of agents and hope that they do a couple of transactions each and train them enough so they don't get sued and see what sticks. And the ones who survive, we encourage them, and the ones who don't, okay, see you later.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Walmart model, right?
Mm-hmm.
Low anyway, you get it. Volume based. And then there's like smaller brokerages like Engel Völkers, and our market is not as many agents. There's not, 50 or 100 agents in each of the offices, smaller. Yeah. And I think that's partially intentional. And it's like having the right people that are all producing at a high level that, that if you're there, you're a producer.
Right.
And that's the idea.
Right.
Right. So, okay. So business wise now, you're physically living in Katati, office in Healdsburg.
Right.
Where is your kind of business being essentially located now?
Most of my listings are still in Marin.
Okay.
Right.
Because that's where the foundation is.
Yeah, that's where my foundation is. So the trajectory of an agent is usually you start off representing buyers and then those buyers become sellers.
Right.
So that's a big part of that. And there's just a lot of things I never put into place. Because I didn't have the marketing support team to do it, the correct tools to do it, and then just the time. Right. Because my business did grow very quickly. And so I say this to agents that I mentor, and I do mentor agents now that I'm at Engel Völkers, but I let them know that like when you sit down and you've got 2 hours to work, because from the beginning of my professional life, I always feel like I've always only had a certain amount of time to work. I've never had an 8-hour day.
Right.
I work an 8-hour day,
right.
But it's like,
it's not like an 8 to 5 thing. It's 2 hours, take a break to do something else.
Yeah.
A couple hours, something in the evening.
And more people can relate to that now because of the fact that they've all worked from home.
Right,
and now they understand what I've been doing my whole life.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I always tell them, the first thing to focus on is, do I have a buyer that I have to send a listing to? Do I have a seller? Like I just check box all the people that are actually like in the works. In the works, meaning they could be in escrow, they could be looking for a home, they could be prepping a property with you. Do all the in the works first. Then we can work on the CRM and we can work on the mailings and the other stuff. And so I feel that without the proper support, some of that stuff went on the wayside for me.
Sure.
So I feel like what I'm seeing at Engel Völkers is that I've started to get better at zeroing in on those pieces so that my only source of business isn't just referral, which I know sounds, it's just referral. And some agents would be like, I wish that was my business. But ultimately, no matter where your business is at, where's the weakness? And is this the year to maybe work on that piece?
For sure. Yeah, I think we see that in our business as well, where you have 3 transactions in a month and then 0, and then 4, and then 0, because you're only spending time doing the things that are in play already. Yeah. They're triggered loans, they're in process, they're in escrow, and then you don't do any of your marketing. Right. And then you turn around, you're like, I just closed these deals and I have no clients. Where is everyone? So then you start picking up the phone and doing all the business development stuff, and then you're on the roller coaster. And no one wants to be on the roller coaster because it makes cash flow funky and it makes you feel bad.
It does.
Nothing is worse than having a 0. Yeah. Right? It stinks. Right. So having the right support though makes it so that you have time every day, every week, however frequent, to continue to plant the seeds and do the CRM stuff and do the marketing and do the mailers, and not take away from taking care of the business that's already, kind of in escrow or really close, like in your world, like getting close to being listed, or a buyer who's out there seriously making offers. So I think that goes back to like the company support that you're getting and making sure that you have the resources that you need and deserve, right? To not have to work 20 hours a day to accomplish all the tasks that you need to, because there's some things that you can hand off to a marketing specialist and say, this is a listing I have coming up. Can you please take care of the checklist of things that we've pre-agreed that you're going to do? And then you can walk away from it and know reliably that it's going to get done when you ask for it to be done. Right.
And in my first 10 years in business, with the company I was working with before, it was like I kept having to hire my own assistants. And so that was taking time away. That was taking time away from me being able to do this and that. And I did discover the world of virtual assistants, so that's really exciting, and that is a big supportive piece of what I'm doing. But I also feel like it should come from the brokerage. Some of this, especially the marketing support, it should be coming from the brokerage. You shouldn't have to hire a separate assistant to achieve the very simple things that that company should want you to be achieving, because their name's all over everything that you do.
And you need to make sure you're in line with the marketing standards. And like for me, it's like, are we using the right fonts? Are we using the right colors? Like we have a very specific thing. We have a style guide. It's like follow the style guide.
Yes.
Make sure that we're all doing it the same way. Otherwise, what's the brand?
Right.
So you're using virtual assistants now too?
Yes.
Where are they and what do you have them do?
She is from Canada.
Okay.
And I have her working on my social media mainly. And then any kind of side projects that we might be working on that, she can do on the computer. I'm still working on my own CRM. I do have a high school intern that comes and works for me a couple hours a week. And she's helping me with my CRM, mainly because she's in person and I can look over her shoulder and I know in front of me what she's doing when she's getting that, seeing that information in front of her. So that's why that's not being delegated out virtually, is because that information. But so that's the support plus what I have at Engel Völkers. They have a full-time office person, and then they hire an international intern every year to work with us. And what I love about that is that they're usually fresh out of college. They have an international perspective. And so to me, it's just that, what am I trying to say? Like depth or just there's so much more dimension to the help that we're getting because this intern comes from another country and helps us with
different perspective on things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she even asked me today, actually, at the office. She said, Haven, what should I be thinking about when it comes to buying a house? I'm like, okay, I'm in the middle of my workday.
Yes.
Great question. But I, of course, had to stop and answer that question for her.
It's so funny how that, like you're in the middle of a really busy day, you have 1,000 things to do, but then there's a great question or a client calls and you're like, okay, well, I have to do this thing first because this is what I'm here for, is to answer questions like this. And I guess, put everything else aside and then I'll come back to it. It's really interesting to me how different brokerages work and just the dynamics of them. And it's very similar in the lending world. And, we at Sequence are trying to build that similar infrastructure where we have centralized resources for our loan officers to come in where they can plug in and like take their business from where they are to where they want to go, because we've got, our equivalent of a transaction coordinator as a processor, and they're like full contact hands-on where they do a lot more than what a standard processor does, trying to take as much responsibility off of the loan officer as possible so they can go spend more time with their clients and less time like figuring out debt to income ratios. Right. But that's not everyone's business philosophy. And I've always just questioned, like, who does that work? Like who enjoys like some of the tedious stuff that we have to do in our profession? Like, who is like, oh, you know what? Don't hire that assistant. I actually want to do all of that stuff myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think everyone wants that support. Did they just not know that it's available? Does that my question make sense?
I think they're more controlling. Number one, I think that's and the ability to get someone that they can really trust is maybe harder for them.
Maybe they've been burned. They've tried it before and it hasn't worked out.
Experience, or they just don't see the value yet. They don't want to pay for it. They want top dollar work, but they're not really putting it out to people and paying them what they can get paid.
I think it's misinformed. My business was good for many, many years, and then it really took off and created massive opportunity for me professionally and personally when I hired my first assistant, who is still with me now. She's our operations manager, and I took a pay cut to pay her, and my business went from 2 or 3 deals a month to 8 to 10. Yeah. The next month. Right. After I hired her, because I was able to spend so much more time working on the business, talking with clients, not chasing down documents, for me, the drivers for me are how many referral relationships and partners do I have and how many client contacts do I have? And that is really the metric that I need to measure. It's not anything else besides that. The leading indicator is conversations with referral partners and conversations with clients.
Right.
That's it. That's literally it. That's the whole formula. The more I do, the more successful I am, the more money I make. Yeah. There's no metric that says the number of applications I take, irrelevant. Number of, documents I collect, doesn't matter. Right. So, trying to really get salespeople to focus in on this is what actually makes your business work. Yeah. And it's not these other things. It's actually not the CRM post, or there's not actually the social media post. It's the follow-up that you're doing afterwards. Right. Right. It's you making the personal connection with people. Right. Right. So how do you I think you know that. So like, how do you stay focused on those really critical things and like get up and do it every day? Because it can be tedious and boring sometimes, right? Like there's a certain number, like you just keep trying to have more and more conversations, right? So like, how do you find the motivation to do the like less than fun work on a daily basis?
Yeah. Self-care.
Okay.
And I think working from a plan too is really helpful. I'm very into counting my hours.
Okay.
And I started it when I had children and I wanted to work, but I needed to get enough sleep. And so I decided I would count my hours of sleep. And if I had 8 hours of sleep, then the next time the baby slept, I would work. And so it came from that.
Okay.
And then I've applied it to my business to really say to myself, how many hours am I actually spending doing what you're describing as income producing activity, right? Because how many documents collect is not going to increase your income, but how many conversations that you have and, timely responses that you do will get you that.
For you, it's like listing appointments and buyer broker agreements signed by buyers, something like that. I don't know what the metric is exactly.
I mean, quite frankly, even in all the business that I've done, it really is just how many people are you contacting a day?
Right.
How many people are you connecting with in a day? So even today, what happened for me was I'm like, oh, I don't really have much after this call today. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to reach out to that client who I know she's still another 6 months out, but I'm going to see if she can meet up real quick. And I had something for her. Oh, her Christmas card somehow came back to me. And I'm like, I'll just let her know your card came back to me. Can we meet up and I can
swing by and say hi? Yeah.
Yep. And I'm bringing in Engel Völkers magazine and her card, and we'll have coffee or something. And that's, to me, that's income producing because
it totally is.
I'm staying in touch with a client who has already said,
and think of that messaging. Like think of what you're leaving that client with.
Right.
It's not just the card. It's the importance that the card came back and you're going to personally deliver it to them. And then it's an opportunity to spend some time together. And I think about that in the context of what would they say about you to someone else if someone else said, hey, I'm looking for help with selling real estate or buying real estate. You've just armed them with the greatest story that they could ever tell.
Right.
Like I haven't even transacted with Haven yet.
Mm-hmm.
And she cares so much about connecting with me that my Christmas card that she sent me got returned and she personally drove it to my house. And then we had a cup of coffee and she also brought me like this great magazine and we had a wonderful conversation. You have to work with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what does it cost you? An hour of your time?
An hour of my time, which I could be staring into my phone.
I mean, that's what I'm just going to be scrolling on TikTok at some point.
I could be scrolling right now. Yeah.
Amazing. So you said earlier that you work with some new realtors and so I ask this question frequently. So listeners to the show will be like, oh, great. Same question over and over again. If you can go back in time, and maybe this is in the context of advice that you give to new real estate professionals, what's like the one piece of advice that you would give to a new realtor who's thinking about entering the market like today? They just got their license. They have passed the background, they've passed the education where, it doesn't prepare you to actually do the job. It's just the license is done. What's like the one piece of advice that you give a brand new agent that's starting off today?
It's the same advice that I would give every single new consultant when I was a Mary Kay sales director. And it's the same advice I give today. And quite frankly, my former mentor, she would say this to me all the time. And I have to admit, in the last couple years, I didn't really apply it. And so when I shifted companies and made a change, which change is hard, but change is good.
Yeah.
And so because of the change of moving brokerages, it made me give myself this advice again, which was, who are your top 30 contacts? And are you connecting with them, reaching out to them, putting them into your system so that you make sure you stay connected with them in the way that works for them, but also that helps convey your value to them. And so that hasn't changed for me in the business world in almost 30 years.
Right.
It's the people that are key. People over paper. People over, I don't know what we call it now because nobody uses paper, but yeah.
So do you like literally have a list of people, like a note in your phone or like a list of like, these are my top 30 referral sources. These are my top 30 business contacts. And these are the people who when it's their birthday, they're getting flowers instead of just a phone call. Does that make sense?
You don't even need to send flowers, like send a card.
Yeah.
Nobody gets cards anymore, by the way. There's your tip of the day.
Isn't that wild?
It is wild. So yes, I think so. One of the things that one of my resolutions was that, as I shared with you earlier in the podcast, I sometimes get anxiety when all of a sudden I've said yes to another lunch. And then I realize, oh my gosh, I'm literally gone all day, 3 days in a row. I'm not going to get any of the other stuff done I want to get done. And so consciously going, who do I need to have lunch with in the month of January? Who do I want to do a little pop by to, meaning something like this where I reached out to a client and said, hey, I want to bring your Christmas card and I have time for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And being very conscientious of that. Absolutely. Okay. And also throughout my business, I have always had client events and those clients get invited to the event. And that was the qualification, right? Did they do business with me this year or in general? Do they give me referrals? Or are they somebody that's just so supportive of me and my business that whether or not I get business from them or whatnot, our relationship is just so clearly, they're so pro Haven that they need to be at the party.
Right.
So that's what I've consistently done
Amazing.
as well. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So the advice is then just to know who your top people are and to take care of those people.
I mean, and there's just so many people that like should be on your, so, you know, you start off with a list of 30 people that you would like to tell that you've started your real estate business. And I'm certain that in 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days, you could probably go back to that original 30 list and still not have talked to every single one of them.
Right.
So.
Right. Because that's not like a text message. That's a conversation. That's like a sit down. That's a meeting.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
I think that's a bit of art that's being lost in communication now because, like you said earlier, it's easy just to text. I text a lot of clients because that's their preferred method of communication. But really, like getting face to face is, like you said earlier, getting face to face. I think is a big differentiator. One of my resolutions is like to make sure I'm connecting with everyone on social, right? Like that's where they're posting. That's where I'm going to get updates on their life, right? Like. If you're not connecting with all your clients on Facebook, even though Facebook is a little cringe now, but like, you know, Facebook and Instagram and wherever else, like that's what they're posting stuff about their life, the pictures of their kids, the stuff that's happening in their world, so that when something happens, you can reach out to them and pick up the phone and call them or send them a card and say, hey, I saw that, you know, your kid won an award at school. Congratulations. Like that must feel great. And how impactful would that be instead of just the thumbs up,
right?
You know? And then also to get in person with people, even if it's after the transaction closes, especially if like you really build a rapport with them. I've had clients that I've never met that I've done multiple transactions with. It's like, how do I want to meet with you, even if I did your deal 5 years ago and you've got a 2% interest rate and we're maybe never going to do another transaction again. We still have a connection. We're still connected. Yeah. And like I want to get across the table from them,
right? You
know, as much as possible. Okay. So kind of wrapping up here, is there anything else that's like on your mind that you want to talk about that's like topical for 2026? Anything that you're seeing in the market or any other goals that you've set or?
Well, I'll just share the answer to the international interns question.
Oh yeah, gosh, right? Darn, yeah, yes.
What am I supposed to be focusing on, Haven? And I said, well, that's that there's a lot of ways to answer that question. So the first answer that I'll give you, because that's probably what you're thinking, is you need to come up with a list of 5 things that you want most out of a property. She's like, okay, I can do that. And then you're only going to get 3. What? I said, that's truly what's going to make you someone who crosses the line between I'm thinking about getting started to buy and somebody who's actually going to buy. Because whenever I hear that story of that person who says, oh, it took us 2 years, 3 years, 5 years to find a property, and they like to cite that the problem was the market, oftentimes it's more that person's ability to understand that your choices are what are on the market right now. And so you have that list of 5, know that you'll get 3 out of 5, and then you better jump on it. And a good example is a recent closing that I had. The buyer met me a couple years ago, was referred by someone to me, and we spent a little time looking for stuff, and I said the same thing to her. And in response, I got a 2-page document of everything she would like out of a home. And needless to say, she decided to put pause on the property search, right? Because I would put pause on a property search if my
That seems
criteria
overwhelming.
was
That's too much.
Right.
Right.
2 years later, she contacts me and says, okay, now I'm really ready. Here's why. Great. And let's have coffee. Awesome. I show up and I've printed the 2-page list that she has not seen in over 2 years.
Oh my goodness.
And we sit down and I go, okay, well, first, here's the list. And she goes, what is this? This is a list you gave me. I don't even remember this list. I said, good. And we threw
That's
it
garbage
aside.
then, yes.
And I said, so now you're really serious and ready to buy
That's
a house.
great.
What
That's
do you
great
need?
advice.
We were in contract within 2 weeks.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So
I think
my
that's
hope
really-
is to get people zeroed in.
I like how you framed that, because I tell people in like my buyer consultation, I'll tell them like, no house is perfect. No house is going to have everything that you want. You're going to get 60 to 75% of what you want and be thrilled at that. So you've got to make compromises somewhere. It's just a matter of understanding what those compromises are and being comfortable with them.
That's right.
And like even like new construction doesn't solve the problem. You're still going to get 60% of everything that you want on the wish list. And like having that realistic approach, I think like just is able to recenter things and have you focus better. And then like you can choose like, well, these are the 3 most important things.
Yeah.
And then you get those and then be thrilled with that.
Right. And it's okay if the timing's not right. So it was never not okay that she said, hey, I'm going to put pause on my search.
Right.
Great. Fine. I always match your tempo with my tempo is your tempo. I match the tempo. So if we're on pause, we're on pause. If we're on giddy up, we're on giddy
Right.
up.
Well, I guess they're leading the dance, right?
Yes,
in a
they
way,
are.
right? They're leading the dance and you're there to follow, right?
Yeah.
And that's good. Amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the podcast. I have a million other questions, but I'll be respectful of your time. If anyone wants to get a hold of you, we'll make sure that all your contact information, phone number, email address, social
Wonderful.
stuff is in the show notes and so on. But thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate the time getting to know you. And if you have any questions for Haven, please reach out and make sure that you get in touch.
All right.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Stay up to date with Bay Area real estate. Hit subscribe